So what do I do with this one? So this, I guess it's kind of like anyone who gives a fuck can go watch it on YouTube later instead of watching it live.
Yeah.
All
Here
right.
comes the live link to your messages.
And where's this going to come in? All right.
To
So on
your,
Facebook.
now, if you want to, you'll get a feedback, but that'll be the link if you want to share it to your.
Oh, all right. I got you. So just use this later or whatever to
Post it to your feed right now.
I'll post it right now. All right.
Yeah. And then if anybody's in your Facebook, they can come watch right now.
Okay. Cool. What's that? Okay. I'm doing that now.
All right. Let me check the feed.
Okay.
See, I've got two computers running here.
All right.
Okay. Now there's going to be a slight delay.
In audio.
Everything. If it,
You could play the record directly in or whatever.
that's what I'm going to start right now. Hold on. Let's try it. Can you hear it?
I don't hear anything.
You don't hear nothing?
Nope. I hear
So
you
maybe I'm just
talking.
hearing it. Maybe I'm just hearing it through my own shit. Yeah. I didn't know if that would broadcast or not.
Yeah, I don't hear anything.
Okay. All right.
Let me tag the publisher and the people involved, and I'm posting that now. All right, so that's up.
So here we go. We're going to try this, I guess.
Yeah. So the I mean, I guess it. So if you play the music just ambient, it sounds like shit, right? That's what you had figured out before.
Yeah, it just sounds like swimming underneath the water.
Okay, yeah.
Wait, I think we're going to have to get another piece of software to do all that.
Let me click back. All right, now I can see you again. Okay, so whatever you just tried, that's how you were gonna do it, and that didn't work.
No, I only heard it through my headphones.
Yeah, I mean, if I didn't hear it here, then no one would hear it.
No. All right, so this is Steampunk Down to Earth Bipolar Friendly Hour, and we finally got the technology to work. We're going to get Joey Carbo here. He put out this new soundtrack that's a companion to a book of poetry called Bone River by an author named Ben Lowenkron. And how did you meet Ben?
Okay, so I met Ben. It's been a while now, but I used to write a lot fiction, and I mean, I never wrote what I would call poetry, but anyway, I guess in the middle of doing all that, the publisher, his name's Cook, and his company's called Ampersand. That's the company that put out Ben's book, and I think they put out his first book as well, which I'm working on. I'm not actually working on it yet, except for up here, but I'm gonna go ahead and make a soundtrack to Ben's first book as well. It's called Preacher's Blues, and I do have a copy of that. It's in the other room on the bookshelf, but I'm gonna make a soundtrack to that as well, just because I enjoyed making the soundtrack to this one, and it was something that I hadn't really done before, this kind of work before, but I found that it came really easily, and I wrote this whole soundtrack probably in a week.
Right on.
he had asked me to do it, and then kind of when he did, what he wanted was um, songs inspired by the book, not so much, because I told him in the beginning I wasn't really interested in doing just some background music for him to read over, like that kind of thing, which I
There's some
enjoyed.
there's some elements of that in there. There's some spoken word on
Yeah, and
that.
I mean, you had to do that, or what's the point? You know what I mean? There had to be a point where he could read over it, or then you're not talking about then what's the book? Then they aren't joined together, I guess. But and I know I'm straying off topic. These are just the I guess the things that I would have to say about it. But this is how I met Ben, where I started from your question. I guess anyway, I was doing readings because I was writing, and I was working on a book which I did actually finish, and then just decided not to publish. And I was working with Cook, Ben's publisher, and he was editing the book and was, I guess, intended to publish it. I don't know if he, maybe in the end he might have decided it sucked and not publish it. I don't know that, but he was editing it, I guess, with the intention of publishing. And
Okay.
working on that, and I was doing some readings, and I met Ben at a reading. He was there reading also, and that's how I met him. But that was years and years ago, so I guess we just kind of kept in touch. And then when it came around to the soundtrack was his idea, and he initially asked for just basically, I guess, put feelers out for local musicians to do a soundtrack, and what he wanted was songs inspired by the book, and then he had, I don't know, whatever his idea was in the beginning was just to do this soundtrack with different, Baton Rouge artists. And I think in the beginning, honestly, I would have preferred to just do the whole thing if I was going to do it, but that was just kind of something that was in the back of my mind that was like, okay, that's not what's going on here, but that would be pretty cool if I was going to do a soundtrack. It'd be nice to do the whole thing because just like anyone else, you'd want to make the whole record, but
Yes.
So because then you've got the whole, you have an idea start to finish, and I guess that's kind of how I work too. With my, when I write songs, I don't necessarily write. I might write 200 songs every year, but only 40 of them, 50 of them are gonna be useful, and those are the ones where once I know what I want my next record to sound like, and once I know what the idea is, and it's like, okay, this is what I want to make a record, and this is the record I want to make this year. Well, then you know what you can call and what you can use, but more so than that, it seems that those first 100 songs you've written, that first 6 months of the year, whatever, those they were just practice to gearing you up to start to figure out what record you wanted to make that year. And I'd make a record every year if I don't make two, but
But you pick from that progression of ideas that you've already laid down.
yeah, but not only that, those ideas get scrapped. So usually when I say, okay, here's the record and I'm gonna make it, then it's like, all right, now a bomb goes off and you go ahead and write the record. And then I find that once I know what the record's going to be, I go ahead and I write it, and it's almost at that point I'm not controlling it so much. The record kind of writes itself in my head. So that's what happened with the soundtrack. Once Ben said, all these other guys are flaking on me and it doesn't look like they're going to record songs or whatever was going on, and I had written 2 songs for him already. So I read the book, and I wrote My Education first. I wrote that the day he asked me to do the soundtrack. So I read the book, and then I said, okay, he wants, and in my mind, then I'm going to be on a soundtrack with these other Baton Rouge bands or whatever. So I was just thinking, okay, I've got one song, and he wants one song influenced by the book, and since I'm not doing one of those things he's going to read over, then I just need to read the book and just make something happen from that. So I just read the book, and then I sat down and thought for a few minutes, and that's what happened. And the song, I don't really write with an instrument. I sit and I think and I write. So that's how, so I just wrote that song, and so I sat down and wrote, and I finished it. And then I gave it some time. I didn't think I had to do any more work. And then Ben said, oh, it looks like, can you do a couple more songs? And then it got to the point eventually where it was just like, I said, hey, look, man, fuck it, I'll do the soundtrack if these other guys aren't meeting the deadline and blah blah blah, and you don't have other songs, because I'll be happy to just finish the soundtrack. And he's like,
So all
okay.
this other material and these other bands they never got busy.
I don't know anything. I mean, you'd have to ask Ben. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
There's this girl, Jessica Hymnal, if I'm not saying her name wrong, and I think she had written a song that Ben was talking about getting, and I don't know if it ever got recorded or whatever. I mean, you know, a lot of people.
Could there possibly be another? So could there possibly be another album of music for this book, Bone River?
They're talking about that, if not a record, but maybe some songs that were supposed to get done. I know Polly Pry was supposed to do something too, and whatever happened with that. And there was someone else, but I can't remember right now. And his name is Jonathan Shell, and actually I tried to record him, and that's not what I do. I'm not a sound engineer, and I'm learning to do that right now because I have a studio in my home now, but it's not something I'm good at. That's like this record I made with Jason Spring, and we can get to that later, but he's the engineer. I can produce a record to the extent that I can get the guys together and I can arrange the record, put all that together, but pushing buttons, and setting up microphones and all that, I don't do that.
There's not much twiddling knobs anymore, is there?
What'd you say?
I said not much twiddling of knobs anymore, huh?
Well, we still try to do it that way. I made the last 2x5 record all on tape and all analog, and awesome. We did it in New Orleans at the Living Room, which is, if anybody.
They've got a 1-inch machine down there, don't they?
Yeah, they will. The 1-inch machine is for mixdown though.
Yeah,
so got 2-inch reels. We recorded on 2-inch reels. But wow. The really fucking cool thing where they go the extra mile, because those guys, man, those fucking guys are, you never met people like that. Chris George and Daniel Madry. I mean, these guys, first off, they built this studio from the ground up. They bought this old church in Algiers and raised it, and then they poured. I mean, these fucking guys. These are the kind of guys like, okay, Chris built race cars with his old man when he was a kid. And so he's just one of those people that whatever he wants to do, he's going to do it. So you're talking about these fucking guys would watch a YouTube video or whatever it is, go buy some books online on how to, do bricklaying. And, I used to be a bricklayer. I didn't learn how to do this shit overnight. These guys would learn this shit and then do it and do a journeyman type job, and they erected scaffolds in this church and did tongue and groove 1x1 slats in the ceiling, and 3 weeks they're laying on their backs snapping the ceiling in, and then you're done, and the shit's just I can't say enough good things about these guys. They're fucking just unbelievable people, and they work as draftsmen during the day. I don't know if they do this anymore. They're probably making enough money that they don't have to anymore, but they would do that, and they'd come home and they would and they would record bands all night. But they won a bunch of awards this last year for the studio and for some of the records they made, and they're just really amazing guys. So the 2-inch reels, you record on those, then they mix down to 1-inch tape. So we were mastering with this guy, Carl Saff, in Chicago. And cool thing I found out this year, actually, I bought the new Big Business record, and Carl Saff mastered the new Big Business record. Well, he mastered the Who by Fire double record. So for vinyl, they send him a 1-inch reel.
Wow.
And so you're actually getting direct audio mastering, straight from tape. So it's not, a lot of guys you can record to tape, but then, probably even the Chili Peppers, they'll record to tape, but anything is digital.
So have you heard about this new venture that Neil Young's doing called Phono, where it's gonna be better quality than vinyl in a player?
Okay, you weren't the one that told me about that. Anthony told me about that just the other day. Anthony was here. Anthony Rydell. He played bass on one of the songs on Hymnal, and he played synth on a couple of the other songs. And he's just basically, we're working together right now on another record that we might finish this year, we might not. Kind of ambient, soundscape type music mixed with hardcore. And he played drums for Dope Deal, the hardcore band that I had this last year, I guess, and he didn't play on the record. Actually, he did play on the demos we made, and we never got the demos from the engineer. But he played on the. He didn't play on the record. He played in the band for a while. Then we got another drummer. We made the record, and then did our shows and all that for the year. And he didn't play with us, but we met that way. But he's a banjo player. He's a really nice banjo player and good bass player and a really good drummer. And so we play together now, which is the kind of the capacity that I work in. I guess is just with different guys and just putting together what I can and just kind of trying to make records. So I'm making a record with him, and then Jason Spring, the guy who co-produced Hymnal. So he plays drums and bass on pretty much the whole record, except for the couple songs where Anthony plays bass or I play drums. So that's making my new record with Jason now, which I hope will finish by the summer. We should finish by the summer.
So you said you recorded this album in a week. So a lot of these were just singles.
No, I wrote it in a week.
Wrote it in a week. Okay.
Like I said, I wrote that first song, and then once I realized that I would be making the whole record, then I got excited. It was it's like now I can get to work. So I went back and read the book again, and then I asked Ben which poems did he have in mind for because I think originally he had some electronic music guy, or I'm saying that could be completely wrong, but some kind of guy who was gonna do some shit for him to read over.
Gotcha.
And I mean, I was thinking, wow, that would probably be fucking lame, and I could do way better. And what I mean, like
well, you can't discount other forms of music for the same reason,
No, I'm not. I just mean I wouldn't have liked it. That's what I mean to say.
Gotcha.
Somebody else likes it. That's awesome. I'm just saying, selfishly in my mind, I was thinking, wow, I wish he wasn't going to read over some electronic music. I could do some shit that was.
Yeah.
So that's what I was thinking. But anyway, so when he told me that, I was like, all right, which poems do you want read now that I'm working on the record? So what I was going to do is I'll do a couple of straight songs, and and then we'll do, and I was like, I'm going to do a bunch of, soundscape and atmospheric music, more or less to, give me the feel that you want, and I can tell you what this book feels like to me, and I can tell you what the book sounds like to me. So I guess kind of in the way that if you like a shit, I don't know, if you what are the background colors to it? What are the, how does it feel? And I told him, this is how the book feels to me. It feels like this, and it feels like this. And he's like, yeah, and I want this, and this is what it feels like, And I know that he wanted a really, a Louisiana feel, and so I worked with that and some, factory noises, and there's some stuff on there where you can't really. It might be harder to distinguish shit. When I was mixing it, I couldn't sometimes tell whether they were guitar noises or factory noises. But I worked on some, I thought, a lot of the things around here were, the feel of living around here and living close to the river. It's, it's
yes.
Factory noises, and it's, it's ships, and it's, trains, and it's, I tried to get all that in there. But then, so I work a lot with guitar noise, but I was working a lot on guitar noises to try and get my guitar to sound more monotonous and more just banging and droning, and just to sound just fucking horrible. So, and in the end, I surprised myself, because when I went to mix it, I was like, all right, I want to turn this down, and I would reach for, to turn down the factory sample, and it would be my guitar that I was trying to turn down. So,
yeah.
I mean, I could show you if we cut it, if we listened and, and picked it out, but there's a couple of songs where what you're hearing when you think that might be the sound of a factory or a sample of some machine noise, and that's actually the guitar. I got some fucking wicked sounds.
Yeah, striving where you can't tell what the source is originally. Yes.
I did a couple things where I put the amp in my bathtub, and then I put the guitar across the amp. So what I did was, instead of having to control the feedback with my arm, I could work my pedals. So I strapped the guitar around the amp and let the face of it into the amp with that in the bathtub. So then the waves aren't going anywhere. They have to, the tub is keeping them in there. So then I could just control knobs, and then if I want to, reach up and grab the the edge of the guitar and lift to get some air in there. That'll change, especially when you got a delay. Any amount of air is going to give you a whole new dynamic.
So was anybody recording any video during any of this?
No, there's some pictures taken. I don't know that there's any video.
That's a bummer.
We started out in the BRCC studio, and that was a fucking disaster. And actually, we lost a whole song because of that. And I won't, I guess, say the guy's name, the engineer's name, but he kind of fucked us. It was Ben's idea to save money. So originally he said, look, I can pay for studio time, but I don't know what the budget is. And I said, well, send me to Building Studios. That's where I need to work. That's Paul Knox and Russo, Michael Russo. I made my last record, Tempt the Crows, with those guys, and I really liked their studio. We made the first 2 by Fire record with those guys. So they're over in Kelton.
Down at the hospital.
No, the hospital is here in my house. So
that's
a real studio per se. It's a studio to the extent that it's where I make my records now. So anyway, I'm getting around to that. In the end, he couldn't afford to send me to Building, and he sent me to basically a colleague of his, because Ben is a professor at BRCC. So this guy is like teaching music at BRCC, and I'm gonna try to be polite and not talk too much about the guy. We went. There's another song that's supposed to be on this soundtrack, to the poem Sky Spider, and so I was reading that poem, and the words to the poem, just as I was reading it, I was thinking, this is a hardcore song. Like, I can make a metal song of this poem. It was lyrical, and it fell into line. So I wrote a metal song with the lyrics from the poem, and I had to cut and paste some because the whole thing didn't lend itself to being a song just like that. But anyway, we worked our asses off on that song. Jeremy Huckabee, the drummer for Dope Deal, and Anthony Rydell played bass, and we had this really groove thing, and it was a big idea. I'll record the fucking thing again eventually, but it would go back, from acoustic to just speed chord, just da 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 da. It was a fucking great song, and it would have been a good addition to the record. Hopefully, like I said, there's that other song that from the other girl, from the other music. Jessica. All right, so you were gone. I just kept talking as if you didn't leave, so that
Yeah, I had to go. I had to go get rid of some of this beer.
We were talking about the song that got lost, but it was this hardcore song that was, kind of a groove and an acoustic thing switched back with like speed metal, and we busted our asses for like 3 days on this and got it all recorded. Well, when I got the mix downs from him to finish the song, it was just all fucked up. It was nothing you could use. And so we asked him I was like, look, I need to come back in there. I need to get the real tracks we can actually use to mix, because then I was going to take it to Cohen Hartman. He worked with the guys at Building for a while, and he has his own studio now. And as far as I know, it's probably called Hungry Ghost, but that's just me guessing.
Yes.
Anyway, he said, well, my hard drive crashed and I lost it. So anyway, we lost the whole fucking song, which hopefully we'll get back. Or we won't get back. Hopefully we'll re-record at some point.
So that's a practice that you'll start, is backing up you back up on a regular basis, huh? On your own shit, huh?
Yeah, I've got an external hard drive. That's all, and Jason does a really good job with all that. To tell you the truth, Jason's my babysitter when it comes to all of that, because I'm not a thorough person, and I'm not detail oriented, and I don't want to. My mind doesn't work that way, and I don't want it to. I don't want to do that. So Jason does a really good job at keeping all that in line. And
okay,
Jason, we made this record together, and we're working on my new record together, and Jason's a great guy. He's really good engineer, and it's, you know, I'm glad I have him. This record wouldn't have sounded like it does if it was just me making it by myself.
So I'm showing the website for the album where people can go to purchase it, and so that's at joeycarbo.bandcamp.com, and you start there. And we tried to listen to it through the computer, but it didn't quite work. And then if you want to purchase the book, I have this up through Ampersand Books too, the Bone River, the collection of poetry, and it's you know, if you want to experience what South Louisiana is, right, you combine the two together, and you know, we're having this concept called Transmedia that's kind of a new concept. But did that idea enter into it, the idea of Transmedia, or is it just like, let's just make a record?
I mean, the word itself, I'm not familiar with it, you know, except hearing you say it, but I guess, I mean, if you want to know how I felt about it, I didn't think of it any different than doing the soundtrack to a movie. You know, to me, it is no different. You know, and I would assume that I've never done a soundtrack to a movie. I would assume that the thought processes are pretty much the same. You know, it's just you know, reading a book is better than watching a movie. You can get, you know, you get the feel of it. You got your scenery. You know, it paints the place in your mind, and you've got everything, and you just have to set the, you know, the dream track to that.
Yeah. So the first time you read Ben Lowenkron's poetry, you had these visual pictures immediately.
Yeah, that's how it felt. You know, it was pretty easy to do, actually. And I can't, you know, I guess that there's as much credit to the book as to, you know, whatever's going on in my head. I got excited about it, and you know, it's easier, like I said before, to work in the confines of a project, a specific project. You know, once I get something going, then the wheels start turning, and it doesn't take long. You know, once I've got something to work towards. But you know, the language in the book is really visual, I think, and you know, I like his and you know, to hear him read it is better, honestly, than to read it on the page, I think.
Yes.
And
so
I'm sorry.
So what other books have you read where, you know, you started reading a book and you started having that movie play in your head and made you want to, you know, start recording some music?
Conrad is really good for that. Heart of Darkness is my favorite book, and I've read that. I read it over and over and over. It's one of those things that you just, you know, and I don't know, there's a couple of his other books that were boring as fuck, and I can see where people might be bored by it. Like it paints a picture. It gets really, you know, it gets really deep after and I don't know, it's the kind of thing where I can sit and read just a couple of the sentences over and over. You know, that probably have, you know, the whole book you can read in like 15 minutes, but
yeah,
not a big book, but I love that book. But I mean, I never thought, you know, I want to make soundtracks to books. You know, it's not something that I would have thought of, but at the same time, you've got, I guess if that's the way your mind works, you kind of have a soundtrack to life kind of playing in the back of your head all the time, and that's, you know, kind of how, I don't know, it's
I hear music playing in my head all the time that I can't get out, so I know that feeling.
It keeps my girlfriend awake at night because I tap my toes when I'm supposed to be sleeping.
Yeah.
And I grind my teeth. So I've got, my dentist has told me before that well, I don't know that he knows it, but music is probably the death of my teeth.
Yeah.
And grind them and just kind of, you know, all day long something's going on, so it's nice to have a place to put it.
Well, just like my brother Peter, when he's painting, he's like, he'll chew his tongue off if you don't watch him, you know, because his tongue sticks out the side of his mouth when he's painting, creating, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, my tongue catches hell too. But it's nice to have a place to put it. Fuck, if someone could hire me to do a soundtrack every twice a year, I guess I could handle it. That'd be pretty cool. And we worked our ass off on this. I won't say it was all joy. There was, you know, a couple of nights where I had to physically remove Jason from my house so I could go to sleep because mixing this thing was a bitch. Because in the beginning, I guess I didn't see the problem with with sequencing, you know, like 16 samples, and then playing guitar over them 4 different times, and then, you know, the arrangement is one thing, but then to have to tackle that and take that apart. So I did all the editing for the most part before Jason was here to kind of take the workload off, and I thought that that would really, you know, would help. But Jason's a perfectionist, and he would at times I'll curse him for the how much of a perfectionist he is, but it's a really good thing that he is, because I'm not at all. I'll say fuck it way before I should probably, but Jason sticks with it, and he mixed this fucking thing, and that honestly that's why it's not on iTunes right now. Jason wasn't happy with the mix, and he's supposed to get it to where he likes it and put it back up on and put it back on iTunes. We removed it because there was an error with the mix. So Jason has worked. He has poured over this thing, and if I told you that 400 hours is what we spent on this record, I'd probably still be lowballing.
Wow. Okay. So the writing of it was the easy part in a way.
Oh yeah, that was simple. That was nothing. I was done with that shit in a week. Because you know, for the most part, it was in my head what I wanted, and then oh man, the internet is so good for samples, because I can remember doing noise music like in the 90s. And what I used to do, this probably won't sound very cool, but what I used to do was order these sound effects tapes.
Yes.
So you'd get different things, and I would you'd get a box of like 8 hours of different sound effects, and you would have, oh, I don't know who used these fucking things, like if it was for guys who do Foley for films or whatever, or what.
Oh yeah.
It was, but you would have everything from like sometimes really simple shit, like okay, like a lady coughing, okay, and then like a man coughing, or like a lady placing a glass on a table while clearing her throat, like just the most mundane, random shit is what would be on there. But then you'd have things like, you know, a rainstorm, or a conversation in French during a rainstorm, or whatever. Well, so in the, you know, in the middle of that 16 hours, whatever, because these tapes would come in these fucking plastic cases, and you'd have like 8 cassette tapes. Every tape is like 90 minutes, and I can remember all these. I might still have some of these things up in the attic that are melted and fucked up, but so I used to pour over these until you could find a snippet. And
yes.
So what you had to do back then was razor the tape, or you had to, you know, capture a piece on your 4-track, and looping was physically looping. I mean, you had
yes.
To, you know,
yes.
So now you can do all this. I can YouTube anything I want, any sound I need. And all you have to do is imagine it. It's there, you know. And I don't want to sound like an internet geek, because I'm not, but I don't care. But you know, it's fuck, man. That made this soundtrack so much easier, because basically, and it's not to say that it was, you know, it's right there. Like, okay, the first track. So what I wanted was, and this might give you a better idea of the soundtrack than anything else, I guess, of the thought process and everything else, but. Okay, so for the first track, and actually the first track was done last, and the first track was done after everything was finished. The soundtrack was all over and done. Well, when Ben came here to actually track himself reading the poems over the music,
yes,
he brought Eric Elliott with him. We call him Easy, or Ben calls him Easy. So Easy and Ben came over, and so Ben was reading over the songs. They said, he said, look, Easy's got this thing. He wrote the foreword to the book. So he read the foreword, and I wish I had the book to show you. Jason took it because he wanted to read it while he was mixing.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on my package in the mail.
I got your CD right here that I made. It's ready to go. The mail out. Right. I had a lot of shit going on this week that you know, but
right on. So am I getting 2 different packages or 1 package?
Probably get 2 different, I would think, because I was gonna get with Ben so that it would all come in 1 package, which I thought would be cooler. You know, I would think that someone, if they do this, they should get it all in 1 package.
It would save on shipping.
Yeah, but so that you get it this year, we should probably just both mail them separately. Far as I know, Ben is back in town, and he's supposedly already mailed the shit. So
Okay. Well, I was just curious, so for other people in order, they know what kind of to expect.
yeah, he was out of town, and then the publisher had to send him copies of the book so he could sign them and send them out, because I guess he had any copies out or whatever. But anyway, so Eric Elliott was here, and he said, look, I wanted him to read the foreword to the book, and I said, look, that's fine. We'll make another track out of it. Go ahead and read it, and I'll take that audio later, and I'll make a song out of it. So I did that. But so I listened to the foreword, and it's a very short thing. It's the introduction to the record. So I said, all right, look, we gotta, it's a building thing, and I wanted a storm, and so the other thing about. So you've got the storm builds, but then the other thing you have is like heavy breathing, and then you have a full-on asthma attack. That's the end. So this is really weird, but apparently there's this whole community of fucking freaks who like to listen to heavy breathing. So go on YouTube and search heavy breathing, and there are, you're talking about just this, for fucking 20 minutes, and it's got like 1 million listens or whatever. 100,000 people have listened to this. So I find it just great that there's people in the world that can get so much enjoyment out of listening to someone breathe. I think that's wonderful for them. I wish that life was that simple for me.
So that could be like a whole noise album, just different styles or languages of heavy breathing, like a French heavy breather or a Russian heavy breather.
Yeah, heavy breathing in a tent.
Yeah.
And even the rain. So I just poured over the heavy breathers on YouTube, and after a couple hours I found the one that because you've got the other thing that's on that song is sirens, and all of those, I thought this was pretty cool too. There's this whole internet community of siren geeks.
Yes.
So they've got these sirens were like these were analog sirens. This wasn't just some digital thing wired up that goes off. These sirens actually had the spinning parts inside. So it was these old antique sirens. So these
like a Leslie speaker.
Right. So these fucking guys would go around the world looking for these old operational, sirens. And they would video them and record them running. And so once I figured that out, it was like, wow, fuck. All right, now I'm gonna be a purist about it. So I'm not gonna use any of the digital sirens. Only these analog, like antique spinning fucking sirens, and those are the ones I'm going to use. So then it was a matter of pouring over and trying to find ones that harmonized with the others, so that I had. So what you probably can't tell just from listening to it, but I want to say there's 4 different sirens in that.
Like a siren chord in a way.
Exactly. So I tried to create a power chord with the sirens. So if you listen, in the beginning of the song, there's a low tone that. And there's a little more that goes into it than you might think. If you listen closely, you're listening to headphones. So you got a low tone in the beginning, so that tone starts out. But once the sirens start, because they match up, a sound that isn't there is created. Okay, you know how if let's say that you hold an old telephone up and it's got the dial tone, and you can go and then it creates a blah 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 blah.
Yes.
All right. So in the song, I think this is cool, but you end up with a sound that doesn't actually exist in between these two sounds.
Getting those harmonics going.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and you end up with a sound that wasn't there at the beginning. It's actually not there in the end. So the thing that I think is cool is what's creating that sound. If I'm not wrong, is the shape of your skull, right? So it's the human equipment that you're hearing it with.
Yes.
That. So it's something that doesn't actually exist, and I like that idea.
Yep, creating something out of nothing is always special, in my opinion.
Yeah, and in the end, it's still, I don't know if it's technically nothing, but it's, you know what I mean?
But it takes up ones and zeros, though, huh?
Yeah, right. You're hearing it, but I didn't do it. I didn't make it happen, the two sounds, actually.
Yes, colliding. Yes.
Right, but then to something besides a human with this shape of a skull, would that sound exist? And I guess that's a whole other conversation. But I like to think about it like that.
Right on. Well, this has been very cool, man. What else would you like to address?
Well, the other than I guess while I'm here, I'm still working on my new record.
Yes, let's talk about that.
I've got a few songs done, and we should finish inside of 2 months, I would think. And
is this something you're working with Nick duet with, or no?
No, Nick's not living anywhere nearby, and he did come down, which just kind of was a lucky accident. But so I got him to, he sang on the soundtrack, and he has sang on 2 of the songs for the new record already, because I had those in the can when he came. So I got him to do that. So, excuse me, I have one other song as far as the record's planned out and arranged, and I'm ready to do it. There's another song where I do want him to sing on, and I'm hoping he can come down and do that between now and then. So if he doesn't, I'll just have to try and sing falsetto to make up for that part, or find some other guy with a really high voice that can do it. Or maybe get a girl to do it. But hopefully he'll be able to come down.
So turn on a light there. It's getting dark outside. Ah, there you go. Yeah, that's better.
All right. So I'm making that record with Jason Spring, though. Nick just kind of came around. So Jason was the drummer for once Who by Fire kind of pretty much fell apart.
Yes.
The drummer got killed in a car wreck, and then Nick had this problem that he still hasn't really figured out, where he lost use of his hands for a while, and he still doesn't really have use of his hands entirely without a lot of pain. And he's done he's gone to great pains to try and figure this out and to fix it. Dude has cut out all alcohol, all these things from his diet. He's worked really, really, really hard just to get to the point that he could use a keyboard or hold a coffee cup. And so
nobody can figure it out, huh?
No, he's been through hell with this shit. And no one knows. But anyway, Jason is... So after all that happened, Jason came in and played drums for Who by Fire for a while, and Jason's also an amazing bass player. So since those are the 2 instruments that I'm no good at, it's perfect to have, Jason's a perfect guy to work with, and hopefully he'll stick around and work with me a little longer after this record. So basically, I think the deal is that he doesn't really he doesn't want to be in a live band, and he kind of has other things he wants to do.
Well, that was my next question. When do you think there might be a live show from you?
I don't know, man. I don't have that set up right now at all. The Dope Deal fell apart, and then the drummer from Dope Deal, I really like working with him, and I was trying to put together a hardcore band. To me, it's kind of cool to have if I had everything I wanted, I would have a band that that does whatever it was that Who by Fire did, rock, folkish rock, whatever it is, and I would like to have a band to do that, which I do to the extent that I can do it in my studio. I can write the songs, I can record it, map it out, bring in a guy on drums, bring in a guy on bass, and get it done. And then so when I'm writing, I write songs like that. So I'll write songs for a band that's Who by Fire was basically the best group for expressing that side of my songwriting, I guess. You know what I mean? If it's the best that it's ever happened for me.
Yes.
I write songs basically for Who by Fire. Even though it doesn't exist, I write songs when I write one, or when I know if it's going to be for a band, or if it's going to be the other type of songwriting I do is for myself. So then I have a solo song, I know the difference right off the bat, whether
yes.
You know what I mean? And so then for when I do, the record I'm making now is a solo record, and this one's not a lot different from Who by Fire, I guess in the sense that it's a mellow record. There's only a couple of electric tracks. The one song is up. You can listen to it, I think, maybe on YouTube. I don't know about that, but it's on Bandcamp. It's called Factory Song. That's the first preview track that's done, like all the way finished for the new record.
Okay. All right. Factory Song.
Yeah, if you go to Bandcamp, you should be able to find the link. Go to my Bandcamp, and
Yep.
my discography's there. So the Factory Song preview, that one's up. And then I guess, a thing that really illustrates that is the difference between Tempt the Crows and a Who by Fire record. So Tempt
There it is.
the last big solo record I made, that was,
The Factory Song preview mix.
there you go. So that's the first song that's finished for the new record.
Gotcha.
And honestly, that's probably the heaviest, loudest song on the whole record, and it just, just by chance ended up being the first one that we finished. But I've got another one that's all the way finished, except there's no bass line on it. It sounds pretty good without a bass line. It's a mellow, happy song, so it's sounding good. The whole record is sounding great, because of Jason Spring. He's a really good engineer and a really, really, really good drummer and bass player, and it's coming together really good because of him. So back to what I was saying, then the third part of songwriting that I do is, hardcore songs.
Yes.
Always nice to have guys where, I write those songs and that's not something, I don't care who you are, that you can do by yourself. You can imagine it and you can write it, but you can't express it.
You got to have the other people there.
So it's nice to have those guys, and Jeremy Huckabee, that's his name. He's a really young guy. I think he's like 19 or 20. He's a badass drummer. He's a little stick guy, little stick man. He probably weighs like a pound, and he is a fucking beast on the drums. Like, this little dude plays like two guys playing drums, and I really like playing with him. And he just finished culinary school and got a really good job cooking, and cooks work their asses off and they work fucked up hours. So
Yep.
it's been hard to get with him lately. So once his life levels off, we should be getting back to work. And so me and Anthony are doing. I've been working on a record with him that's kind of, and so that's the other record that I hope that I'll finish this year. So the idea is to use software, which I've never done. I've always recorded music. Any record that I've made has been
On some kind of analog machine. Yeah.
exactly, and what you hear on the record, that means that's what we did in the room, And even
Yes.
to the extent that some of the songs on the Who by Fire record, even on the new record, were recorded live. Even if it's three guys in three different rooms, mic'd up, really nice sounding rooms.
Yep.
We did the song live, and that's what you get. And I really like doing that. And I'm trying to get out of my snobbishness about not respecting that if it's not done that way, But
Yep.
so like, all right, Ministry. There's a few Ministry albums that I really love for the fact that they weren't done that way. Animus
Yes.
Mina is such a fucking great album, and I love the fact that what you're dealing with is loops, and then you can get so. Anthony was showing me how to do that. It's not something that I've ever done. So we're working on guitar loops and drum loops, and so I just I play a riff and play it a few times, and then we can listen back, and you pick the little part where you just were
The crunchy part. Yep.
yeah, and then you take that, and then you can loop it, and then what you can do is create time signatures that didn't exist or that you didn't think of by fucking with the loops and splicing them. So then we'll go back and play drums to that, and then go back and play bass to that, and then downshift and tempo, and there's all these things you can do to make the record. And I'm realizing now, I guess, that there's just as much musicianship, there's just as much work to do editing and splicing and the things you can do with a computer that I had never worked with before, and I'm starting to enjoy that. So that's a whole nother side of it. So I'm making this acoustic record with Jason, my new record, and then when we work, which we don't work a lot, making this hardcore record, but in a whole different way, and it's really cool. I think once we're done, and that the deal me and Anthony made with ourselves was that we would take as much time as it takes, and since we don't have a live band and we don't have to keep up with shows and don't have to promote this or promote that,
You put all that energy into this. So.
yeah, we can take as long as we want to make this record, and in the end, I think it'll be shit. If it takes a year, if it doesn't come out till next year, I think it'll end up being a really cool record, and if nothing else, it'll have been a lot of fun. and it's a whole new thing. And really, I can make sometimes, you know, you can get something that's harder than you can get from a live band doing it this way. And then we can do the atmospheric stuff at the same time, you know. And that's the idea in the end, is to blend the atmospheric with, you know, the straight hardcore, which is, you know, we started out playing together. The first music I played with Anthony was hardcore, which is funny since we both enjoy playing acoustic music much better, and he's a really good banjo player.
So you said Ben was in town. When do you think we can probably talk to him about this?
I don't know, man. I'll get up with Ben and try to schedule it. He'll definitely do it, because he's, I think he was out on a book promotion tour. That's where he's been, as far as I know.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and he'll definitely do it.
All right.
And he can, you know, tell you a whole nother side of it than what I know. And then hopefully next year we'll be talking about the soundtrack to his first book, because I'm gonna make it. And it's called,
that was the Preacher's what? The Preacher's something.
Blues. So yeah, so you should
Preacher's
get
Blues. Yes.
Yeah, you should get a copy of that in the mail. Then
Yes, with the package we bought. Yes.
right. Yeah, I went back and I was reading it, and I was thinking that Preacher's Blues actually lended itself to soundtrack music even more.
Awesome.
This one, and also, so another thing I wanted to say is, the first things I thought of when he asked me to do this were were obviously the Burroughs record.
Yes. William S. Burroughs, you're talking about?
Yeah, right. The soundtrack that they made. What the fuck was it? It's been so long since, that was like high school when I heard that. But it was it Naked Lunch? Was it
I think that's the name of it, if I'm not mistaken. Hold on.
And there was Tom Waits did some music on there with him. There was the Take Off Your Ain't No Sin. That was the name of the song. Ain't no sin to take off your skin, to dance around in your bones. And he did, and a bunch of others. So it was Burroughs reading over music. And then the other record that came to mind was Stephen Jesse Bernstein. The record's called Prison. And if anyone hasn't heard this, it's really, really cool. I think it came out around the early 90s. What happened was Sub Pop had decided to do it. The producer's name is hold on, the record's right here behind me, I think, actually.
That's not that Poneman dude, is it?
The who?
Poneman, he used to be one of the producers. He's the one that found Soundgarden.
No, it's not him. It's but it is a really recognizable name. You'll know exactly who I'm talking about when I find it. So anyway, actually, so Bernstein never heard the record. He heard the first track before he blew his brain, but he never heard the rest. But the fucking thing is supposed to be right here somewhere. Anyway, the name of the record is Prison, and it's Steve Fisk. His name is Steve Fisk. So Dino's going.
I'm back.
All right. So I didn't find the record. Oh, you don't have headphones on. I didn't find it, but I did remember the dude's name is Steve Fisk.
Steve Fisk. All right.
He made the record. So anyway, but those were both records that were really, the music was only there for the poet to read over, you know?
Yes.
And which is not a bad model, I guess, but I didn't want to use it. And I felt like another thing, and this might sound off the wall and not sound like it matches, but the other thing I thought of was the Singles soundtrack. It's a shitty movie. It's a good soundtrack. I don't even know if you know what I'm talking about, but it's a movie called Singles, and it was some kind of a vehicle for like promoting Seattle sound when that shit was so big or whatever. And
Oh.
it's a fucking movie with Matt Dillon and Jodie Foster, if I'm not mistaken. And but the soundtrack was really good. But the part that I'm saying that stuck out to me, which still might not make any sense to anybody, but there was a soundtrack song on that record called Birth Ritual. And if you go find this fucking song,
Yeah, Soundgarden's Birth Ritual, yes.
it's one of the best Soundgarden songs out of all of them. And I mean, that's a band that I really, really love anyway. But that fucking song made such an impact on me at the time. But what I liked about it was,
I think that's on the super unknown CD-ROM. It's like a hidden track on. There's a CD-ROM out there when the CD Plus format came out back in the late '90s, and they put out Super Unknown, and they put that Birth Ritual song in there because it wasn't released before that time.
no, well, that's where it came out, was on the single soundtrack. That's where it was first released, and it was just some B-side or something. And it, to me, that you had that soundtrack that kind of, what the soundtrack was supposed to do, which it did, was create a feel for this movie. This movie was supposed to be this generational thing, and what I'm talking about is not so much about whether or not the movie was cool. I'm talking about what they did, and what they did was to create a place and time for this movie, and the music was supposed to put you in a place and time, and the movie and the music does do that. And you can go back and listen to that record now, and that takes you back to 92, 93, whenever this was, 96, I don't know. I think it was 93. Anyway, it came out, and it will always transport you to that time, and that's what the music was meant to do. And there's really horrible, cheesy shit like Paul Westerberger, which is just fucking awesome. Awful. Dyslexic Heart is the name of the song, and it's just fucking horrible song where he's like asking a girl for her phone number, but he has a dyslexic heart, and he, just wretched shit. But in the midst of all that, they've got this Soundgarden song that does not match up, and it's just so fucking hard, and it just completely destroys the mood of the soundtrack. And it, to me, it was like, okay, it captures the mood of this time, and it captures the moment. And so to me, that's what I thought more about doing, not just like, oh, to make cool sounding shit for him to read over. I don't, man, fuck that. I'm not gonna do that. So I wanted to create the feel, and I wouldn't want anyone to listen to these, the two songs, My Education and Haunted, the two songs, track 2 and track 6.
Yes.
On the CD, and think that that's just some arbitrary shit, or it's like, okay, Joey's putting these songs on there, they're just, rock songs. No, the funny thing is, when my new record comes out, those two songs are, to me, gonna be better than most of the songs on my new record, and that's an accident. I wrote those songs because I read the book. I wrote those songs specifically for that and for nothing else. And every bit of it was written to capture a mood. It's not that I'm not gonna, and I wasn't gonna do the other cheesy thing where you, let's say that I,
guitar solo
from his poem and fit those into my lyrics or whatever. Like man, fuck that. Like, there's just,
that's too forced. Yeah.
Yeah, right, exactly. You don't want to do something that sounds forced or intentional. You don't, and I wouldn't, I don't know that I would know how to do that, but it's that, to me, that never was an option to do. But to make the record this way was the only way I knew how to make it, the only way that I could have made it, and the only way I would have intended to. So I feel like it's one of those things where the end product is exactly what was in here from the start, and I'm really happy about that. And like I said, a lot of that's due to Jason's engineering, but in the end, I'm really happy with it on as a record as a whole. From start, it's exactly what I wanted, and I hope that that it makes you feel like, what my point in bringing up singles, that it makes you feel like if you read this book, or you go back and you hear the soundtrack, then it's like, wow, that brings me back to when I read that book in 2014.
Yeah, Singles is from 1992 here. So.
There we go. Yeah, it was a shit fucking movie, and half the soundtrack is pretty shitty. But go down to the songs. There's the band Mother Love Bone, which was like was Pearl Jam beforehand. Okay, so anyway, they've got like the only two Mother Love Bone songs that are just badass. And I don't care if anyone thinks that I'm fucking weak for liking it, but I love Mother Love Bone. I think it's fucking cool. And I know how cheesy it is, but you know how sometimes you like stuff that's really cheesy.
Sometimes you gotta have stuff just to clear your mind, you know.
But I really loved these two songs, and it's a suite of two songs, so I think those songs are cool. But we probably spent more time than we should talking about the single soundtrack, but that was, and it, I guess crazy things make associations in your mind, but those were the things that I thought about. And so where I was going with that was when I make the soundtrack to Preacher's Blues, to Ben's first book.
Yes.
I was thinking that I wanted to do more of I wanted to do it more like a reading track. I wanted to do it more like the Burroughs record, or more like the Stephen Jesse Bernstein record, so that there's a lot more. And I actually want him to read probably 75% of the book over this new one. So I'm rethinking the music, and I'm kind of and I'm still at the point where I'm just thinking about it. I don't know what it's going to sound like yet.
Well, you want to expand on what you've already done with this first book and make it.
And it may take me a while just to think about what it is.
Make it more immersive than what it is now.
Right, but I want him to read a lot more. Because in the end, with this, I felt like it was a promotional vehicle for the book. And, if you listen to the record, there's not a lot of reading. You know what I mean? There's not a ton of him reading. But it was Ben's choice to read only 3 poems, and he picked those 3 poems. And, he wanted, I think, the same kind of record I wanted. And in the end, Ben was thrilled with it, and he's the only person I had to please with this,
Yeah.
So.
Well, other than yourself.
Right. Exactly. So which is, way more important. Ben could have hated it, and I still would have been happy about it.
Yeah.
But Ben loved it, and so in the end, it's a success because he did, and it was what he wanted. But for the next one, whatever it is that he wants, I want to make Preacher's Blues like way more reading oriented. Just because it's that kind of record. I think it would be that kind of record because I think it's that kind of book. And I feel like Bone River was a sparse book. It jumps around a lot. You know how he introduces, you have sections?
Yes.
And that was the thing that appealed to me about it, or that created a mood too, was the sections. And that you don't really, maybe Ben does, but you don't know really where you're at any point in the book. And it kind of feels like milky water. It feels like I've sifted into this point, and now I'm supposed to be in this point, and I'm not really sure. You know what I'm saying? Did you see that when you read it?
Yes, it gives you the feeling of what it's like to be in South Louisiana. Sometimes it's kind of muddy and murky down here in the deep, dark, dirty South.
That was Ben's point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some fucked up shit going on down here, whether you want to notice it or not.
I think Ben could tell you, a lot about that. I think it would be good to have a conversation with Ben about the book, because I think you enjoyed the book.
Yes, what I've read, I've gotten through about half of it so far. So, but I'm waiting. I really like reading a real book as opposed to a digital file.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I hate reading something on a computer screen. So I sent you the file.
But
yeah, that he sent me to work from. So when I first got it in the file, I read it through the file. Like I said, I wrote my education. Well, then at that point, he had handed me the book,
and that made a difference, huh?
It made a big difference, holding it, and being able to finish.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know about Kindle and all this electronic reader stuff yet.
I've never done that. I haven't done that yet. But I don't like having to read anything on the screen. It's supposedly those things are supposed to be softer on the eyes or whatever, but I don't like it.
Anti-glare, yes.
It's still not paper though.
So for $7 you can get this album on Bandcamp, and if you do a package deal for like $20 or $30 you can get a copy of the book signed by the author, and a
copy of his first book,
and a copy of the first book, Preacher's Blues. Yes.
And then I think there's another package where he'll write you a poem on a postcard or something.
Yes, that was the $50 level. Yes.
It is? Okay. I can't remember all that, but I think that was what it was. Okay, so you get the two books, or the $20 is the signed Bone River, $30 is Bone River and Preacher's Blues signed, and $50 is all those things, and the
Plus a CD from you of rare songs, yes.
I mean, so the postcard, he's gonna like make up a poem
Yeah.
just to you, and then I'll, for $50, I'll make you a CD. And I guess I'll show you the one that I made for Dino. The so this is basically what I did was, and I won't do the I won't send any person the same list of songs, but what I did was, shit, am I in front of that camera here? All right, so
Yeah, you're fine.
all right, I've never done this. This came out of the plastic sleeve, and then, excuse me. So I've used this. Is that in front of the camera? There you go. The
A little higher. There you go.
all right. Then. So this is it's
The track listing. Yep.
yeah. So it's like see-through paper, and then just so that's printed on there, and then this is handwritten on behind, and I use some masking tape and markers, and then what's inside are just use different actually these are torn out of my journals, different pages. So what I did was I decided what songs. So for the most part, the songs on this record are, some of them are from records that I've made, but they were the kind of the, I picked one mood and that's what it is. Then the other songs, there's songs on here that no one can hear. You can't find them on the internet. You can't find them anywhere. And you've got a demo on here, actually 2 demos on here that I recorded with my cell phone. And actually, if you got a good cell phone, man, these fucking things record really well. Like, I mean, I was still using a little mini cassette player to record ideas.
Yes.
And a cell phone, whatever this is, whatever kind of phone this is, has a really good mic, and the shit sounds good. You can record a decent demo, and I can fucking email that. I can text that to my engineer while I'm working on a record. And
Yes.
hey, I can put down an idea and we can work like that. It's really cool. So you've got the 2 demos. Actually, there's a Hunted, the last song on the soundtrack. You've got the demo from when I wrote that song. So I sat on the couch and wrote that song, and I just pressed record on my phone and recorded just that. So it's got some alternate lyrics, and it's got it's just an acoustic guitar version of that song. It's a pretty hard song. Heavy song is what I mean. So you've got that, the original, which no one's gonna hear that. I'm certainly not gonna put a fucking cell phone demo that sounds
No.
on the internet or anywhere else. So you've got that on this record for $50. That's what I'll definitely put that track on every one of those. So what I did was, these are just like journal pages of basically whatever. Sometimes it's like what I kind of went through most of the songs, not all of them, and sometimes I wrote lyrics, and for the most part, I wrote where I was or what I was doing when the song was recorded. So I just kind of, said, okay, this is where I was going with this song, or this is what I was trying to accomplish, or this is why I wrote this song. So I guess I tried to think of, whatever it is, if someone cares enough to pay that much money for the record, then I can try to
give more than they can deal with. Yeah.
Try to give them something that if they cared enough to do that, then maybe these are things that they would care about. I don't know. It's more like this is why the song was written, or this was what was going on when I wrote it, or this is why this song was this way or that way.
Well, that's the most personalized goodie you're probably going to get out of the whole thing.
Yeah, and and in the end, if 3 people are willing to pay $50 for this, then when it's all said and done, there will be 3 copies of this kind of thing, and even those 3 will be individually, numbered.
Unique, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there won't be another record just like it. Even if they share a few songs, there's going to be songs on one or on the other, because I've got tons of demos that I don't basically want anyone to hear. That's the best way to put it, but of the ones that aren't so bad, there's they're on there. All right.
Very, very cool. Go to Bandcamp. Hold on, let me get the website address here up.
name after Bandcamp. I think it's a slash and then Joey Carbo.
JoeyCarbo.bandcamp.com.
Oh, that's right. They put my name first. That's how it goes.
Yes.
So yeah, the whole discography's there.
Yes, everything's there, and it can all be streamed.
Yep. And also, and what's better than that is, like you were talking about the Neil Young thing.
The phono, yes.
I really like that because you can buy audiophile formats there. When you buy something, it's all right. So an artist is you're required to submit the highest quality format. It has to meet a certain specification. So you get these I want to say it's AICC or FLAC.
Yes. Yeah, they're doing it. They're doing it in FLAC audio format. Yes.
That's what Neil Young's thing is working with FLAC.
Yeah, it's all FLAC, but it's 192 kilohertz, not 44.1 like regular CD.
Yeah, it's supposed to be almost a lossless format.
Yes, totally lossless, and they say the sound quality is beyond vinyl. So you actually get to hear what was made in the studio.
Right, and that's why I use Bandcamp, because that's what you get. And you can choose, so you buy my record, you can download it as a FLAC, you can download it as AICC, which is supposed to be really good too, but you can do that, you can go back anytime you want, download it as an MP3 as well, so you've got an MP3 for your portable player or whatever, and you've got FLAC for home or however it is you want to do it. But I really like that because iTunes doesn't really do that. I mean, you get a wave as far as I know, but for the most part, you buy a record and iTunes is going to give you an MP3.
But the Pono is going to concentrate on the FLAC format, but it'll play any other format that's out there. I mean, it's
right, and I don't.
For it'll be a $400 device when it's released to the public here later this year, I guess.
Yeah, that's what Anthony was telling me. He said there was a Kickstarter on it, and that for $200.
$800,000 was raised in the first 24 hours on that Kickstarter.
And that's really cool. I'm looking to do a Kickstarter. I don't know if wanting someone to help me, but I don't know how to set these things up, but I was gonna work on a special vinyl release for the new record when it does come out, and I was gonna do that through Kickstarter. So that's something I'm looking into doing.
Yeah, that's something we could help you with here.
Cool, that would be great. That's what I was looking for help on it. I don't know with that. I've asked a couple of guys, and just basically they were into other shit or whatever, didn't have time. But it's something I would like to do. I really would. It seems to be working for other people. I haven't ever tried it.
Yeah, there's been there's this lady I'm trying to think of her name. Gal Holiday in the Honky Tonk Review. She did her last album on a Kickstarter and raised like $20-something thousand in a month.
That's all I would need is like $2,500.
Yeah. Maybe
1,800. We could get a decent pressing.
And then you have your time limit to you set a time limit for your Kickstarter, and then once it's met, then the project goes forward. And if you don't meet your goal, then everybody gets their money back.
Right. So okay. Yeah, I've heard a little bit about it, but I don't know a lot about it.
So it's a matter of how much you promote it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kickstarter is easy. It's a real straightforward interface, and it's the same thing like you're doing with the Bandcamp thing. Different levels. You offer different goodies for the album.
Yeah, and I found out in the end that that's probably not the best thing to do through Bandcamp, because the way that they get paid is a percentage. It's a profit sharing percentage. So in the end, the more people pay for my record, it fucks me.
Yeah.
They get a higher percentage, but I haven't checked out the details of it. I just know that as far as if people pay only let's say it's $7, people pay only $7, I get paid every time.
Right.
When people bought the $30 package or the $20 package or whatever it was, then Bandcamp's percentage shoots up. So then after that happened, I sold a couple records at $7, and Bandcamp got that $7. I haven't completely gone into how it works, which it's fair. It's not like I can provide those files online. I don't begrudge them that. They deserve the money that they're getting for it. But I don't know that it's the best way to do what I'm trying to do.
Have you tried CD Baby like Nick Duet was?
That I don't. Yeah. I haven't, and because too expensive now to manufacture, to get CDs manufactured into.
Because you have to send them physical copies. You have to.
Yeah. Physical copies are a pain in the ass, and they really have. And this is the thing where everyone kind of thinks we're in this purgatory of the way things work with music, and we are, but it hasn't really settled itself yet. But it physical copies used to be so much easier, and even though they've gotten cheaper, selling them has gotten harder. So it kind of doesn't help.
Yeah, yeah. All right.
And even if you're always the best way to sell CDs was to go play at a show, but nowadays people don't they don't want to. They still just want, you can sell download codes, which is really weird. Like, I did a few Who by Fire shows where we were selling, a fucking piece of paper with a code on it.
Yeah.
I thought it was really weird to sell someone a piece of paper and they go home and type that and get the record. But,
well, that's something they do with like the vinyl. Like you download a vinyl album now from Nine Inch Nails or anybody, and they give you the download code inside the vinyl for the the MP3s or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I'm not trying to be a dinosaur about it. It's just that I don't think it's gotten where it's gonna go yet. I think it's gonna work out in the end. I mean, I know it's gonna work out in the end, but I haven't found my place in that yet for sure. And for now, it just seems that digital just works.
Yeah, it's the whole industry is in flux right now because the record companies don't want to let go of the physical product, and everybody's trying to figure out a new way to distribute over the internet.
Yeah, and I mean, and you can't blame them. The shit, I may be one of the only people, but or definitely not, but that I know that still insists on having a physical copy of. And the other cool thing about the only cool thing so far that I've found is when I buy a record now, I can usually get the digital copy, so then I don't have to open my record, and I can put it shelf, and it's still in the plastic, and so then my kids can sell it off, and because they're not
unopened vinyl 20 years later. Yes,
right. Maybe it'll be worth something. To me, it's nice to have it on the shelf, wrapped up, because I like to have it, and then if there's a reason to open it, and I really want to, because I like to hold it in my hands, when I'm listening, I like to, you want
read the liner notes, and
I'll just make it exactly. And see, that's to me, that's the biggest thing. The loss we have suffered is liner notes, because if liner notes aren't important to you, then I really don't appreciate that. I think that liner notes are the biggest the biggest part of a record, and I think that anyone who doesn't appreciate liner notes is not fully appreciating the record.
Well, in the CD format, they're so tiny now. I'm getting old. I got to wear bifocals. It's hard to read all that shit if it ain't on a vinyl record,
And I don't, when there's a record you really like, and sometimes bands don't tell you this guy played this instrument, this guy played this instrument. I really don't, I really like to know those things, and because it gives you not just to know that, but it gives you a better idea of what's going on in the song, because there's you can hear instruments in the background, and you're like, man, what is that fucking instrument?
Mm.
And then if you have the liner notes, you can say, oh, that that's this dude playing a moog or didgeridoo or whatever the fuck, or you banging on a. There's a musician I really like that. It's another thing people probably won't agree with me with, but Evan Dando, and he made a solo record called I'll remember the name in a second. Anyway, Dando made a solo record in the late '90s. And to me, I could go pick the record up and show it to you. To me, this got overlooked, man. This fucking record was better.
He's a dude from the Lemonheads, huh?
Yeah, dude from Lemonheads. And he made a solo record in the '90s that, to me, and a lot of good records came out in the late '90s. A lot of really good records, and that was so overlooked, and it really should have been looked at as one of the best records of the late '90s. It was right up there with Nevermind. It was really, really a good record. And he had a guy in there, a friend of his, just spinning a fishing rod, like what's it called, the end of the fishing rod where you spin the thing, a reel or whatever. Okay, so he's spinning the reel.
Oh, yeah.
And you wouldn't have known that was a fishing reel the dude was spinning if not for liner notes. The record is called, Baby I'm Bored. That's what it's called.
Baby I'm Bored.
and it's got like this hot chick with like her panties spread across her hip blades for the inside CD cover.
Wow.
Anyway, he that's a really, really, really good record.
Here, I got a side up here. Hold on. Bar None Records, Baby on Board, first studio album from the former Lemonheads frontman.
Yeah, it's a fucking really good record. And the way since I was a kid, songs that made me cry were like, songs that were, and it's just me, but I don't really care about songs unless they're sad, and that's just the way I feel. Going back to as early as I can remember, Willie Nelson songs made me cry. Johnny Cash, Big River made me cry, and songs that made me cry were the only thing I cared about. And when I first decided that I wanted to write songs, or when I knew that, it was not because I said, oh, I want to play guitar and be really good at playing guitar, which I'm not. And
Right.
on this, badass guitar, that never entered into my mind. Playing guitar is a means to an end. Playing guitar is more or less a necessary evil to do what it is that I want to do, which is to make people cry. Like, to make people, not so much make people cry, but make people feel what I felt when I heard, a song that made me pull over to there's a song, Steve Earle song called, no, I'm sorry, it's not a Steve Earle song. It's Chris Christopherson. It's a song called "In the News," I think is the name of the song.
Oh God, he wrote songs that a bunch of people recorded. He's like,
right, but I'm talking about one of his records. So he made this new record. This was not even that long ago. I think it was in the 2000s. But this song called "In the News," and that song, I pulled over to the side of the road so I could finish crying because
wow.
And it like that. Like, I don't know, maybe people don't just say, hey, this song made me cry, but fuck it. There's like 8 songs that made me cry, and I love that. It made me pull over so I could finish crying, and that felt really good. And since I was young as I can remember, that's what I thought is, if I can make people feel like that. And I don't know why that hasn't appealed to me, but that's what I wanted to do. So there's a song on that Evan Dando record that made me cry, and I think it's called "All My Life." That's the name of the song.
All My Life. Is that your puppy?
I think that's a neighbor's dog. He's outside taunting him. Jackie likes to leave the back door open. We have this fight between running the air conditioner and leaving the back door open because she likes fresh air and I like air conditioning. I get enough fucking fresh air when I'm up a tower 200 feet all day long. I get plenty of fucking fresh air.
Yeah. All right, I think this is gonna work. Did you have a good time?
Oh yeah, man, this was cool. I was kind of nervous about it, and I had never done this kind of thing before. And I did an interview for Who by Fire, like in person with I have some pretty cool magazines around somewhere I've done magazine interviews where you get like the cool rock star pictures in the magazine.
Yeah.
Show it to people and like, oh yeah, And so I've got a few of those around, and those interviews were kind of made me nervous that I'd do in person, I guess, and it was all right. So you just kind of like, I would always get them to meet me at a bar and show up early so I could have a few drinks before they got there and do it. And that's why I kind of felt that way about this, like, but more like the camera like aimed at my face. So I thought it was, it's kind of weird, but in the end I had a good time. And I talked to you a lot longer than I thought it would, tell you the truth. Like,
yeah, we're on an hour and 23 minutes.
Fuck, man. In the beginning, I told Jackie, I said, well, I think he wants to do an hour, but I hope not, because I'm gonna try to get out of it after like 30 minutes.
No, it goes faster than you think, man.
Yeah, and I guess I had a lot more to say about the record than I thought. I think I ended up talking more than you, which was probably not what we intended.
Well, that's I'm here for you, not for me. I mean, it's just a vehicle to explore local culture and local artists, and nobody's doing this here in Baton Rouge, so I figured I'd start. You know.
Thanks. Yeah, it's awesome. I really appreciate you doing it.
All right. So go check it out, joeycarbo.bandcamp.com, and look up Bone River on Facebook or on the internet, and go get it.
Yeah, and hopefully Ben will be on here with Dino pretty soon, and hopefully other than that, we'll be talking about my new record in a couple months.
Awesome. Well, we hope to see you again, Joey, and this has been the steampunk, down-to-earth, friendly bipolar hour, bitches.
Thanks, Dino.
All right. Later, man.